Hello, welcome to the Camtasia Basics Workshop. My name is Charles Gazowski and I'm an instructional technologist. Today we are going to go over some of the features of Camtasia that will be useful to you when you want to create content for your courses. After you open Camtasia, I want to look at a setting that we can change before we start recording. The canvas is where you design your video. Everything that is visible on the canvas is produced in the Vinyl Movie. For most projects, 720p is going to be just right. The file won't be too long and it will be easy to upload into YouTube or TextSmith Relay. The important thing is that you choose a ratio of 16:9 and that will be just right. To change the size of the canvas, go to Edit and then click Preferences. And then go over to the Canvas tab and you'll have your options under the Canvas Dimensions drop-down menu. And like I said, I choose 720. I think the default is 1080p. And then once you've selected 720, click OK. Okay, now that that's done, we can record a sample. Click the record button in the top left-hand corner. Now we have our recorder. This is the standard recorder, but there are a few other tools that you might find useful. Go to the Tools tab and click Recording Toolbars. I'm going to click on Effects here, and this will give you the option to annotate with a pen or highlighter while you are recording. Once you click Effects, then click OK. On the left side of the recorder is the Select Area section. I don't necessarily like recording in full screen if I'm not sure that my monitor has a 16:9 ratio. So I usually go to the Custom drop-down menu and select 720, which will fit perfectly with the canvas that we adjusted a few seconds ago. The other thing I like to do is I like to click the lock on the dimensions, and that way if I drag on the corners of the recording screen, it will keep my aspect ratio locked in. Onto the recorded input section of the recorder. These settings will vary depending on the project you are working on. Camera on means that if you choose to keep it on, you will have your face on a section of the screen recording. The audio on is where you choose your microphone. We have a pretty fancy microphone here in the ATG department. But you can probably use your laptop's microphone, or you can get a pretty cheap headset wherever you buy your electronic goods. For audio level, this again kind of depends on the quality of your microphone. I would play with some recordings to figure out the right level for you. For me, usually right in the middle works. Okay, once I have all my settings set, I'm going to click the record button. I'm going to let this record for a few seconds and then stop it. You can pause the recording by clicking F9, or stop it entirely with F10. The cool thing with Camtasia 2018 is that when you stop the recording, it plops the recording in your media bin up here and on your tracks below. Right now I have two video tracks. One of my cam recorder that shows my face, as you can see it on the canvas here, and another one for the area of the screen I recorded. And I was just recording the desktop. If you decide you're not a fan of the camera, which I'm not usually a fan of including in my videos, you can right-click on that track and delete it. However, if you do use a cam recorder, this is where the audio is attached to, and so you will have to separate it, which is an option here I'll show you in just a second. So to separate the audio from that track, you just right-click here on the track and then click the Separate Audio and Video. And now you have your audio up here. And so again, if you wanted to delete just that webcam, you just right-click on it and delete. Now, if you ever wanted that section back on your recording, you would have to drag down the video up here again to get it back in there. I find separating the audio and video really useful, because if you're anything like me and say a million times while you're talking, you can cut those out. So after you separate the audio, zoom in on the tracks by clicking the plus sign, which is right here. If you decide to cut out some ums, drag the red or green handle on the playhead to select the area to remove, and then click the cut button. So just like this. Also, if you have a lot of blank noise in the beginning or end of your track, you can trim it out by pulling the track to the left or the right. And finally, If you want to add photos somewhere in the middle of your track, you just select the tracks, and then you can split the tracks by clicking the split button, and now you have new beginning and endings of your different recordings, and you can put the whatever photos you want right in between. Another thing I like to add to some of my videos are callouts. You can add text bubbles, arrows, sketch motion, etc. You can find these all up under annotations. Once you find one that you like, I'm a big fan of the sketch motion ones. You just drag it down on your track, and then you can adjust the length of how long the sketch motion takes place, and you can also adjust the size on your canvas. And once you do that, it'll look something like that. There's one more thing that I want to show you that could be useful. Let's click on let's select all of our audio and video, and then click the Properties button on the right side here. Once you do that, you should see a little mouse cursor right up the top. Click on that, and now you can make the cursor really huge if you want. But what I usually do is I like to make the cursor disappear altogether. And to do that, you just change this setting right down to 0. And so I usually get rid of the cursor when I use a lot of sketch callouts, like I added to my track down here. And so that makes the cursor disappear. If you click the audio icon, you can also make all the audio tracks the same level, which can be useful too. Especially if you do multiple recordings in different days. For whatever reason, sometimes I sound louder on one day than I do the next. And so changing the level across the way can be helpful for that, or just changing it on one track at a time can be useful. Finally, I want to show you how to export your video. Click on the Share tab at the top of your screen. We recommend saving it to the local file, which means it's going to save it to your computer. So click Local File, and now you're going to have some different options or some different pages to click through. The first one, we just want to make sure that we're using mp4 only and saving it up to 720p, which is the dimensions we chose earlier. Then click Next, and on this last page, you're just going to give a name for your video, and you're going to choose where it saves to. I'm just going to put this on my desktop. I'm going to call this Camtasia Workshop video, and then I'm going to click Finish. Depending on the length of your video and the speed of your processor, this can take anywhere between 1 and 10 minutes. Okay, now the recording is saved to my desktop, and I can load it to YouTube or TechSmith Relay. All right, so that's the end of my Camtasia Basics workshop. If you have any questions, please let me know, and I'd be happy to help you out.